Hello and welcome to New Wave Global. This is Raza Rumi and I'm back with a new video. This video is about water wars in South Asia, the changing nature of conflict, and how water is being weaponized by India against Pakistan. And let's get into what's going on right now. India just got a strong message from world's top arbitration court. What did it say? You can't walk away from the Indus Waters Treaty. The ruling is a major legal victory for Pakistan and a reminder that water, not just land or oil, is one of South Asia's most dangerous flashpoints. And let's unpack this ruling and explain what the Indus Waters Treaty is all about, why India tried to suspend it, and what this court decision could mean for the future of diplomacy, of Pakistan's water security, and of peace in the region. And with climate change, this is going to become more and more intense. So let's start with what is Indus Waters Treaty. I'm sure many of you already know, but for some of the viewers, maybe you don't know when did it come about and what does it actually mean. So let me explain a little bit for you. The Indus Waters Treaty was signed in 1960 between India and Pakistan, brokered by the World Bank. It's often described as one of the most durable agreements between two bitter rivals. And I remember once I even wrote a paper on it, hailing it as a great way of regional cooperation. Of course, I was wrong because today its future is uncertain and it's under threat. So what does the treaty say? Under the treaty, Pakistan gets exclusive rights to the western rivers, Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. India controls the eastern rivers, Ravi, Beas and Sutlej. But India can build run-of-the-river hydroelectric projects on western rivers so as long as they don't obstruct flow. So this is basically division of rivers and waters after 1947 when India was partitioned into India and Pakistan. Now, despite 3 wars and countless skirmishes, the treaty held firm for more than 60 years until recently. And that is something we need to worry and ask the question, why did India try to suspend the treaty? And this was done in recent weeks, actually. In 2023, India did something unprecedented. It wrote to Pakistan and the World Bank, remember the one that brokered this deal? It wanted to modify the treaty, and until then, it would treat the agreement as being in abeyance, essentially frozen. India claimed that Pakistan was abusing the treaty's dispute mechanism by objecting to every dam project, creating delays and legal challenges. Indian officials even called the treaty a burden from the past, quote unquote. Really unprecedented, given that this treaty had kept India Pakistan agreed on this particular point for 60 years or so. But here's the problem with India's request then and its recent announcement of holding it in abeyance. There's no clause in the treaty that allows unilateral suspension or withdrawal. You just can't walk away from a binding international agreement. And this has been an issue in the recent weeks and years. So what was Pakistan's response? It went to the court. And Pakistan didn't respond with threats. It responded with law. In early 2023, it filed a case at the Permanent Court of Arbitration, PCA, it's also known as, in The Hague, Netherlands. which is where many international bodies are located, and also some UN agencies. So Pakistan goes to the Hague. The case centered around India's construction of hydroelectric projects, especially the Kishan Ganga and Ratle dams on rivers meant for Pakistan under the treaty. So basically, India building dams on rivers which are meant for Pakistan, which irrigate Pakistan and feed and help its population. Pakistan argued that India's designs of these dams violated flow guarantees, and that India was ignoring the treaty's dispute resolution process. So, in simple terms, what Pakistan said, if there's a disagreement, we follow the legal route, not walk away from the treaty. And that's how you ought to be doing. After all, it's international law and it's binding. It's not even something just agreed verbally, it's a written treaty. So, based on that case, what has the arbitration court said? Fast forward to June 2025, the Permanent Court of Arbitration issued a supplemental award of competence. That's the legal parlance in which these awards are handed out by the courts. And here's what it said rather clearly and firmly. So they said the PCA has jurisdiction to hear Pakistan's case. Number two, India's attempt to suspend or ignore the treaty is not valid under international law. Number three, the dispute resolution mechanisms remain binding and India must participate in the process it agreed to in 1960. Essentially, what it means is that the court rejected India's claim that it could unilaterally hold the treaty in abeyance, and India is legally bound to comply. That's what the court is saying, rather specifically and pointedly. But why this matters for Pakistan? It's a matter of life and death for Pakistan. In recent months, when there was a terrorist attack in Pahalgam in April 2025, which then was the Indian government alleged that Pakistan had sponsored the militants or terrorists to come and kill about 26 or tourists in Kashmir region, the disputed Kashmir territory, and that India vowed that it would punish Pakistan. So one of the things they announced again was holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. And that again is linked to this case, because what the arbitration court is saying, well, you really can't hold it in abeyance or withdraw from it unilaterally. And then in May, India carried out strikes, military strikes against Pakistan. The war or skirmish or conflict, whatever you want to call it, I would call it a war, short war, lasted for a couple of days, in which the Indians struck Pakistan with missiles and drones, and Pakistan hit back, and a ceasefire was brokered by the United States administration. Of course, India denies it. It says Pakistan begged for a ceasefire. Pakistan says, oh, India begged for a ceasefire. These are the official stories, but in reality, the West and especially the US were concerned that these are two nuclear armed nations and they just cannot go on like that, because that's going to be a disaster. So I'm trying to bring in post Pahalgam and Pakistan, Operation Sindoor, as Indians call it, the military strikes on Pakistan. So let's get back to this case by the verdict at the Hague. For Pakistan, this is more than a legal victory. It's about survival. With climate change, glacial melt, and unpredictable monsoons, the Indus River system is literally Pakistan's lifeline and is under stress, under duress. So farmers in the Punjab province, which is the largest province of Pakistan, and there's a lot of water stress data. So almost 80% of Pakistan's agriculture depends on these rivers. Millions rely on them for drinking water, irrigation, and energy. So this abeyance or whatever Indian position is going to hurt millions. So this ruling by at the Hague basically says that India can't stop the flows or building mega dams without oversight, and it strengthens Pakistan's hand in any future water negotiations. And I'm saying, although I have to say that Pakistan's National Security Committee, after the Indian threats and holding the Indus Waters Treaties in abeyance, called it an act of war. And that's what Pakistan's military and Pakistan's government thinks, that if India is going to divert the water or stop the waters, it's going to be an act of war. And whenever you think of India-Pakistan war, it is not just conventional war, because it can turn into a nuclear conflict, which will, of course, hurt all Indians and Pakistanis, but which is also going to, impact the entire world and destroy it. So that's what is at stake here. Pakistan's survival, regional peace, and I would say world peace, global security, and nuclear security across the globe. So what now? And here are a few likely scenarios after this ruling. Scenario one, where one is being optimistic, India complies with the Permanent Arbitration Court's ruling, returns to arbitration, and future dam projects are vetted transparently. Of course, this is very optimistic given the gung-ho muscular nationalism in India. Scenario two, India continues to delay or challenge the ruling politically, appealing to international allies or blaming Pakistan for the impasse. It's very likely India has been doing that. It's been trying to sort of rally world opinion, but it's not really working, because at the moment, Pakistan is getting more and more diplomatic traction. And the third scenario is worst case. India attempts to bypass the treaty altogether. And that would set a dangerous precedent and could escalate into a water crisis or even a nuclear conflict. There's also pressure on the World Bank, the original guarantor of the treaty, to take a more active role in enforcing the award and ensuring both sides return to legal dialogue. That's how civilized countries, nations, communities do. And I just, needless to say, it has to be done. Now, let me also add another point here. Now, when it comes to water, it's not just Pakistan, India. There's a big water, kind of an agreement between India and China as well. And of course, China is the upper riparian state and water comes down to India. So the Chinese are also building dams there. And, recently Chinese commentators have remarked that if India does this to Pakistan, bypassing Indus Waters Treaty and holding it in abeyance, then what stops China from doing that? There have been water disputes between India and Bangladesh as well. Now, the reason I'm citing these two things is that this entire region, especially with three nuclear-armed neighbors, China, India, Pakistan, water disputes, and if it's not resolved through diplomacy, through, genuine negotiation, at least with the intent of negotiation, we can see a bigger escalating conflict. And that's a real danger, viewers, and that's, I think, we need to sort of reflect about it. So basically, what is the linkage between water, power, and peace? The Indus Water Treaty is not just about the rivers. It's about whether, as I mentioned earlier, two nuclear-armed neighbors can resolve conflicts through institutions, through dialogue, through diplomacy, and not through aggression, not through missiles and, drones or whatever, God forbid, nukes. The court's message is clear. Agreements must be honored, especially when millions of lives depend on them. For Pakistan, this is a moment to invest in water diplomacy, hydrological monitoring, and building international support to ensure that the treaty remains functional in the 21st century. We have crossed a quarter of a 21st century, and if Pakistan has to survive and we have to sort of avoid conflicts, then we must do something which uses diplomacy and other institutions to avoid this escalating conflict. But final point that I wish to make: climate change is affecting both India, Pakistan. In fact, it's affecting China, Bangladesh, the entire globe. And climate change requires regional cooperation. You cannot adapt or prepare for climate change without regional cooperation. Number one. Number two, there is international law which says that collective punishment is abhorrent and illegal and unlawful. And if India thinks that, or alleges, in the past Pakistan has done wrong things, let me admit. I mean, I'm not saying Pakistan is completely blame free, but in recent years, Pakistan has tried to make amends, and many of its policies have reversed, either through international pressure, internal debate and dialogue, or looking at the negative fallout of its past policies. But even if India thinks that Pakistan has sponsored a group of militants, it just cannot come and punish the entire country. It's a country of 250 million plus people, where 80% of agriculture and food is dependent on these rivers, which we share, waters we share with India, Pakistanis share with India. It just can't be so. This idea and notion of collective punishment is a problem. India has all the right to, ask questions, seek answers, or even make allegations. Fine, go to international forums and argue, but it cannot indulge in collective punishment because A, it's illegal, okay, but secondly, it's going to be treated as an act of war. And therefore, this is a critical situation that needs to be avoided, that needs to be addressed. So please do let me know what you think. Can this treaty survive future political storms? Is water the next battleground in South Asia? I know it's happening elsewhere in the world as well, but here, remember, South Asia hosts billions of people, almost 2 billion people, if not more. So, and if you have learned something from this video, if you want to make corrections, give me feedback, please write your comments, subscribe to our channel, and share this video, and do press like, because we try and bring information that is both educational and accurate, but also which tries to engage with you in a non-partisan and objective manner. With that, goodbye for now. See you shortly.